I think the Long Beach Playhouse is unique in that we are a community theater, but we also have two spaces. We have a main stage downstairs where we get to stage a lot of our classics, our family-friendly shows, and then we have the unique opportunity to produce more contemporary and adult shows up here in the studio. The Playhouse has been around since 90 years. We're going into our 90th year next year. Started in 1929. And I think this is, when they built the studio in the 1960s, it gave us a chance to do different things up here. There was a period where they were trying to do the same kind of programming upstairs and downstairs, and it really didn't focus on the needs of the entire community. Of course, as a community theater, we need to do family-friendly shows and shows that are very accessible to a broad audience. But also, I think it's our duty, if we're trying to represent the community of Long Beach, which is so diverse, to also do shows that represent everyone. And with a show like the 20th Century Way, it's a chance for us to talk about Long Beach history, especially LGBTQ history here in Long Beach, and to address that community, which very often, since we are a big LGBTQ community here, doesn't get spoken to very often, especially in a community theater setting. So I'm very proud to be able to do that here at the Playhouse. What's nice about the studio is that it's more intimate. It's a traditional theater space in that it's a proscenium, but it also gives you the opportunity to do, because it is so intimate and it is kind of away from the main stage, to do more daring shows, more adult shows, shows that have strong subject matter, adult subject matter, sex, nudity, violence, that deal with racial issues, that deal with LGBTQ issues. It's a lot of theaters only have to worry about one season, whereas here we have to worry about two, and it's a blessing and a curse in that we have to spend the money to produce two seasons, but also we get to produce two seasons. And I'm going to be honest, I'm very excited when I pick the studio, and I usually direct shows up here in the studio because it gives us a chance to do things that are daring, that are exciting.
Something that I'm very interested in is invisible narratives. I studied Asian American studies in college, and there are tons and tons of narratives outside of Asian American ones that go unheard of and unseen and unproduced and unwritten. And the 20th Century Way is based off a narrative that virtually no one knew. The way that Sean, the artistic director, found out about this was the Long Beach Historical Society recently did an exhibition about LGBT history in Long Beach. And this was just like a little tiny tidbit, but it's a huge part of where we've come, where we've been, and where we've come.
Before I read the play, I had no idea about it. Actually, Roxanne Patmore, who is on the Long Beach Historical Society, she's on the board there, brought it to me because the playwright had sent it to them when they were doing an exhibit about local LGBTQ history. And so she sent it to me, I read it, I fell in love with it the instant I read it. And I was like, this is a very daring play. It only has two people, which concerns me from a marketing standpoint. But if we can do this, if our board of directors agrees with me to do this show, this would be a fabulous show to do here at the Long Beach Playhouse. It is about Long Beach. It is about Long Beach community that doesn't get spoken about. And plus, it's a super well-written play. It's very dynamic, it's very exciting, it gives opportunities for two actors to play multiple roles, do many accents, and get really to the emotional core of what it means to be a human being and what it means to be an actor. The story arc, it's kind of a play within a play within a play. If you think of the movie Inception, we first see these actors who are in a theater space, and we think they're there for an audition. And then it turns into a competition. Who is going to be the best actor? Who can improv their way through a character and a storyline? And one of the characters decides to pick this real true life story about the raids by two actors working with the Long Beach Police Department in 1914. And it quickly escalates from them just improving the story into them exploring their own feelings about what they're doing, and also their feelings for each other and what it means to go this deep to be an actor and what it means to also connect with another human being. We see the whole storyline of what actually happened in 1914, but we also, towards the end, we come to a realization of who these people are as people and as actors.
The reason I'm so excited to direct it is because there are not a lot of sources telling us about this history. And also, structurally, it's a fluidity play. This means you go from scene to scene without blackouts, without any type of transition. You have to figure out how to make the play seamless. So you shift from location to location, character to character, time to time, and you have to do it seamlessly. To put it simply, the story of the 20th Century Way is two people meet up in a room and try to connect. Simply put. If you delve into it more, it's so much more complex and compelling than that. Two men, you're not exactly sure where you are, who they are, what time it is. Two men come in and can immediately begin bickering and starting competition, and they begin improv, which is very strange. And throughout the course of the play, you see these two actors try to one-up each other with their skill, one with the Commedia dell'arte and one with the Stanislavski method, which, if you know the methods, are very conflicting. One is very external and showboaty, and the other is very internal and very method and very... there's like a whole set of rules that you have to follow in order to do it correctly. And out of that conflict, and out of the conflict of two people trying to connect with two very different languages, power and love, you kind of see something magical happen, and heartbreaking and beautiful. And it's not until the very end that we get to see two people finally begin to understand each other, if you will, or start to match up their languages.
So the story of the 20th Century Way is, like I said, fairly unconventional. It's opens with two men, both in a audition waiting room, and they spend their they're there waiting to audition for a movie, and in that time they decide to have a competition to see who is the better actor. And in that time they portray a play within the 20th Century Way that is based on a true story in Long Beach about two men in 1914 in Long Beach who were hired by the Long Beach Police Department. They were actors. They were hired by the Long Beach Police Department to walk into bathrooms and bars and bathrooms, bars, and other like bathing houses and whatnot, and try to get men to have sex with them or give them a blowjob or something along those lines, so that they can then get them arrested, entrapment basically. And it was insane to learn that that's a real thing that happened, about 100 years ago. And it's even more insane when we, as the characters are reading actual newspaper articles that were actually published and portraying real people that actually lived. And it's a really crazy ride that is obviously crazy to watch because we're constantly shifting from one character to the next, all to portray that one story, constantly shifting out of that story to portray the 20th Century Way, the two men in the audition room, and then shifting back into the historical event that we are portraying as well.
The overall story of the 20th Century Way, as I see it, is it's not so much about Brown and Warren as it's about intimacy, relationship, truth, vulnerability, just we as people, how we portray ourselves, how we let others see us, what we will let others see, how much we will let people inside, and that's kind of, if I had to say in a nutshell, that's what it was. That's what it is about. What is truth, what is not truth, what is intimacy, what is not.
What I think is really interesting about playwright Tom Jacobson's work here is that he's able to bring something that could be as dry as a historical drama to life with a lot of theatricality and still keep the story very intact. We get the whole story of what happened in Long Beach, but it's so much more than that. It's about these actors. It's about like these bigger themes of connection and acting and personal stakes. So I think that's why it's a masterful play and why I enjoyed his writing on this piece.